In this section we start to bring AI in our workflows, but don't worry, we will do it really easy. We start with a simple automation. An Airtable trigger comes through, and then an LLM will basically extract the information how we need them and send us an email. Or basically this will be for an organization. ChatGPT will make a summary, and ChatGPT will basically be the customer success team and tells all the other people in the organization what happened. Completely automatical. And then we will do a sentiment analysis also with an AI model. Basically people will give us a review. The review can be really long. The LLM will extract the sentiment, will tell us if it's positive, negative or neutral, and send us an email update if everything is okay or not. Or you can also save this, for example, in Google Sheets. After that I will show you how you can install Ollama, how you can download open source models like Deepseek, Llama 3, Mistral, Pi 4 and so on, and how you can make your own server and connect this server with n8n. This is especially practical if you want to have AI that runs locally, that is completely private, that is safe and that is free to use forever. And lastly, I want to show you how you can connect every single API from an LLM provider with their API. We can connect the models from Anthropic, from Google, from Groq, from Deepseek and basically a lot more. We have endless options. In this video we will bring AI. We will make something that is relatively easy. We will connect Airtable to ChatGPT and then send a mail to us. So basically something like this will happen. As soon as a new order comes into Airtable, I just want to have a quick summary what happened with this order. This is really practical. And this also does not really matter if the Airtable was also automatically created previously. So you can also connect more workflows in this way. So we just start really simple. Create new workflow, we press plus, and here we use right now Airtable as the trigger node. So we press Airtable and we need to have on Airtable event, of course. So every time that something happens in Airtable, I want to have this trigger node executed automatically. I have already made a small spreadsheet in Airtable. This is just an example. If people buy stuff from us, in this example we are the company that sells, for example, electronic stuff. And if people buy stuff from us, if this table gets updated, I want to have an email. So we come back. Of course, we need to connect our Airtable account. Then the mode, I want to check this every single minute so that we have an update all the time. And here on base and table, we need to give these links. So we basically just go into Airtable and I just want to give this link. And it's always just table 2. So we give this right here and also the same thing down here. This does not really matter, this works for us. And then we want to have a trigger field. So let's just say every single time that a new order number comes through, I just want to have an update. So I copy order number, we go back into n8n, we throw this in here and then we can simply click fetch test event. But first you can also see this. When will this node trigger my workflow? You can press on these and you see this right here. Once you're happy with your workflow, activate it. Then n8n will regularly check Airtable for new events and execute this workflow if it finds any. This execution will show in the execution list but not in the order. So as soon as you make this public later, this thing will simply work all the time for you. But for right now, we simply press fetch test event. And right now you see that we have fetched a test event. Status was shipped, price 300, date. This right here, it's a monitor, the order number is 4, and Ana Lopez has used this and quantity is 1. This thing for fetching test events will always fetch just one event. In our scenario, it's order number 4. And here you see order number 4. It's Anna with a monitor, 1 piece, $300 shipped. Anna, 1 piece, monitor, $300 shipped. So this seems to work. And every single time that I get an update in my Airtable account, I will simply trigger this node automatically. So boom, this works for me. You can also see it here. While building your workflow, click Fetch button to fetch a single mock event. It will show up in this editor. So the fetching with these tests will fetch only one event, but as soon as this is active, it will fetch all the events and it will check it every single minute all day long for us. And now we want to integrate AI, of course. So we press plus, and I want to include OpenAI. So we press on OpenAI, and I want to use Messenger model. This is just a normal LLM. If we press on these, you see that we need to connect our OpenAI credentials. You already know how to make them, but for the sake of these tutorials, we will make new events. So we simply press create new credentials if you do not have any credentials. We search for the OpenAI playground, we press on it, we log in. I hope that you have made your billing account, just like I told you in the first section. Then we go on to the dashboard, API keys. Here you can choose your project. I just like to use this test project. Create new secret key. n8n course test, create secret key. Copy this key, we come back into n8n, we throw in the API key, and we press save. And now this thing is green, and green is always good. So this right now is connected. Resources, we use text. Operation is of course Messenger model. Then the model list, we can use, also the smaller models would be fine. I would like to use GPT-4o. Now we need to make our system prompt, so we simply need to create this text, and I want to do it this way. First I click on expression, and I want to make this a little bit bigger, so that we can work a bit better. And I include this prompt that I have already created. One moment. You are responsible for customer orders. Your task is to collect incoming information about new orders and create a clear summary that will be sent via email to the team. The email should be signed with Customer Success Team. Here are the details of the customer orders. Order number, customer, product, quantity, price, date, and status. Please provide the following output parameters: email subject and content. And here you see this right now, order number, and you find the order number also here, order number, and we can simply throw it here. Then the customer is of course this right here. These are always variables. Then the product is this right here. The quantity is this right here. The price, that thing here. The date and status is this right here. And now this should work. This is a perfect system prompt. With the system prompt, we have these variables, and they will always vary, and the AI will simply make a summary out from all of this and send a nice email, so that everybody in the company is up to date from the customer success team. So we can close this down. And what I want to do right now is to press test step, and then we should get our data. And there we have it. And here you can see it as table, as JSON, and also as schema. We can go on to the table, and here we see it. Like here it's not perfect, but later as soon as we send this as mail, this is a little bit nicer. Summary of new custom orders, order number 4. Dear team, please find below the details of and so on, order number, customer name, and so on. So you see this should work completely fine. But what we want to do is of course to send this via mail. This would be of course perfect if the customer success team can simply type in their stuff here in this Airtable sheet, and as soon as something gets updated, the customer success team sends the mail automatically to the other people in the company. So we press plus, we want to have Gmail, we press on Gmail, we use send a message of course. Now we need to connect, of course, once again, Gmail. If you do not have this, please make it. Once again, I want to show you how. Create new credentials, just open the documentation, go on the Google Cloud Console. This is basically the same thing that we did previously. We go onto the console, we make a new project by pressing here, new project, n8n, course, mail, test, for example. We create it, we press on it, we go onto the left side, APIs and services, libraries, Gmail API. We press on it. We need to enable the Gmail API. As soon as this is enabled, we go onto the OAuth consent screen. We scroll down, first steps. We give it a name, n8n mail. We give our email. We go on. It is extern. We go on. Once again our mail, and we go on. And we accept it, and we go on. Create OAuth client. It is a web application, web client 1. We need to have the redirect URL, so we press on it, we come back into n8n, we copy this thing and throw it down here and create. Now we have all of this. What we do right now is to press here, and we want to include some test users. We simply use our mail right now, and we save it. Now everything should be okay. We press on clients, OAuth client. Here we have the client ID. We can copy these, come back into n8n, throw in the client ID. We come back here, copy the API key, and we throw in the client secret key here, and we press sign in with Google. We use, of course, our Google account. We go on, accept all, we go on, and it's successfully created. Everything that is green is always fine. Remember, if you work in the cloud, you do not have to do this. One click is enough. But if you want to do this locally, you have to make these clicks. So we can throw this away. This is fine right now. So we are connected with this Google account. Resources is, of course, messages. So we can send this message immediately. You can also create a draft if you want, but we want to have a message. The operation is, of course, send, because we want to send this email. Then let's just assume that we want to send this email to a Google account that I already have. Let's just use this one. I just type in this thing right here. Here would come, of course, the email where we want to send this. Now we need subject, and we also need a message. And here we have a small problem, because in the content we only have the email subject and the content in one thing. So we need to fix this. This is part of the process. This can happen. We go back on this prompt. We make this big. Please provide the following output parameters. I have fixed this with an underscore. Let's just go back. We scroll down. Output content as JSON. Let's just enable these right here. And now we press test step, schema. And now we have it. Email subject and the email body. So please also enable that you want to have this as JSON. Then we should have email subject and the body. Now we press, of course, on our Gmail node once again. Now we have the subject, and of course we throw the subject in the subject. Then we go down and the message should come into the message. And the email type, it could be HTML or it could also be text. Let's just leave it at HTML, and then we can simply press test step. And it seems that it worked. So let's just see if I got this mail or not. I am here in an email address that I normally don't use, and I see that I have this mail. Summary of new custom order 004. If I press on these, I can see it. Dear team, please find below, and so on. Yeah, it seems to be completely correct. We can maybe make this a little bit nicer, so the body should be a little bit cleaner. And also this, I do not want to have this. This email was sent automatically with n8n. So let's just fix it. We come back to n8n. Let's just use text here instead of HTML. Make a clean body with new lines if needed. This should be fine. Then we go on our Gmail node. We scroll down, add option, append n8n attribution, and we do not want to have this. So right now it should work for us. So we press on these once again, fetch test event. It's once again 04, so this is okay. Then we press on these, test step, seems to work. We press on these, test step, seems to work. We come back in my Gmail, I press on it, and now it's a lot nicer. Hello team, please find below the details for the new custom order or the number, customer, product, quantity, price, date, status is shipped, then thank you, best regards, customer success team. So everything is clean, everything is perfect. And now we want to automate this thing. So if we come back, we can close this down. And what we want to do is right now to send this to active. So no longer inactive, we want to have this active. And this thing will get triggered every time that I add new rows here. So right now, this will search every single minute if a new row gets added. And we will not see it here, we will see it here in these executions as soon as this gets triggered. So basically what I want to do right now is to go into Airtable. Now we add a new row, we just say 006. Let's just call this Maria test, printer, 2 printers, $300. This is the date and it's completed. So this row gets now added, and if we come back into n8n, we need to wait for 1 minute, and then our execution will get triggered automatically, and then I should get a mail, at least in theory. And if we come right now into executions, you see that this thing gets fetched at minute 24 and minute 25. So everything was executed completely perfect. For the sake of these tutorials, once again, test workflow, we see the things get fetched, OpenAI makes our mail, Gmail sends gets triggered, and then I got my mail. Because I have pressed right now test workflow, I will most likely fetched once again event number 4. And yes, there we have it, event number 4 on this time, so you see this is completely up to date. If you ever have any problems with these active workflows, because this can absolutely happen, please make sure to save this previously. So throw it to active, press save, go into the overview, come back once again to your workflow. Also make sure to give it a name, so this would be better, Airtable to mail. And make sure that it's active and then it should work. And if it still does not want to work, it is most likely because you are on your local machine. If you host this in the cloud, this will work all the time. And remember, just go on to executions and check when your last execution comes through. Congratulations, you have your first automation where you have AI included. This is also relatively practical in a big company. Let's just assume that new orders come around the corner all the time. Every time that Airtable gets an update, our customer success team sends an update to other parts of the company. So congratulations, see you in the next video. And of course you can make this bigger, smaller, but let's just take it slow, we will do this step by step. In this video we will bring AI in our workflow and we will make a sentiment analysis with an LLM. This is really practical. Just think for yourself. If you have, for example, a lot of reviews and maybe the reviews are really long, you want to have a small summary. You want to have one word, for example. It could be positive, it could be negative, it could be neutral, and you can eventually save these words in Google Sheets, in Airtable, or you can also send yourself a small mail with just one word. And in this video I want to show you how we can do this. So basically we press create workflow, and first we can start, we could start with a manual trigger and make this step by step, but let's just do the fast way. What I want to have right now is once again, of course, a on-form submission, so that we can simply do this. Just like in the real world, people would most likely fill out information about your business, tell you if you are good, if you are not good, and then you would get most likely a long text, but you just want to have a summary in a table or via mail. We should call this thing review, for example. Then the description, let's just say, how satisfied are you? Then the field name, let's just call it name. Text is fine. The placeholder, your name, for example, this should be a required field. Then we want to have a second element, the field name, your review, for example. It should be this time a text error, I think. Yes, text error is fine. And the placeholder, let's just say this right here once again. And I think we are ready here. I just no, this should be actually also a required field, and now we simply press test step. We should get this. So review, how satisfied are you? Your name, let's just say Arnie. Your review, I think this was a really good hotel room. I like that it is clean, and so on. And now we can press submit. And basically this should work right now. So the data comes through, this works for us. But of course we want to have a sentiment analysis, and we do this with AI. So we simply press plus, and what we want to do right now is to use a basic LLM chain. This is just the easy stuff. So the basic LLM chain is absolutely enough. We do not need to have an AI agent. We just use the simple basic LLM chain. We press plus. We use, let's just say, OpenAI. You could also use Ollama later. I want to show you how you can connect Open-Source LLM with these, but I just want to use OpenAI for right now. We use, of course, our API key. We need to use a model, let's just say GPT for Omni Mini, because this is smart enough for us. And this is basically right now set. This should work right now, but then we need to pass the data in the right format so that we get a nice little sentiment analysis. And the most important thing is that we need to have a prompt, so the user message, and then also a system prompt. What we want to do right now is to press defined below. so that we can eventually play with all of these things. Here on the text we press on expression, so this is basically the prompt that comes through. If you simply type in here hey and press test step, you will see that the AI will simply talk to you. So hello, how can I assist you today? So basically this is how you can talk to ChatGPT. And we want to throw something in ChatGPT. We want to throw the review into ChatGPT. And if we simply throw this review, so basically these lines, I think this was really good hotel room and so on. And if we press this step, of course, ChatGPT does not know how he should respond, how he should behave. It sounds like you had a positive experience and so on. But what we want to do right now is, of course, to have a sentiment analysis for these. And for that we press add prompt. We want to have a system message. We go on expression. We can make this big. And now we need to tell ChatGPT exactly how ChatGPT has to behave. You are an expert in sentiment analysis. You conduct evaluations and determine which of the three options applies. Positive, negative or neutral. You respond with only one word. And that's basically it. Our system prompt is right now set. And you see our review is right now, of course, positive. So this should be a positive review. If I press test step right now, we should get the word positive, of course. And if we do something else right now, if we simply, let's just say test workflow. And if, let's just say Arnie once again tells us it was a mess. I hate it. I think I will never come back. If I send this out right now, everything comes through and also our LLM will say most likely negative. And then last test, let's just say, yeah, come on, let's just make a neutral rating here. Once again, Arnie, or let's just use another name this time. It was somehow okay. This should be neutral. Let's just send this out. And see if ChatGPT was smart enough. Of course, it was smart enough. It is neutral. So basically, we have our sentiment analysis. And if people tell us on our website how they feel about our product, we will simply get one word if it's good or not. This is, of course, practical. And with this on-form submission, of course, we can save this in, let's just say, Airtable, Google Sheets, or also via mail. You can also update all of it. Let's just make a test. And then I want to show you a gigantic rating, and we compress it down into one word. And this stuff will really save you time because you don't have to read all of the stuff. So the only thing that we also need is, of course, the name. Of course, we can simply go into this thing and also tell that this thing should also extract the name. But what I want to show you right now is the set name, because with the set name, we can simply hard code this name that comes from here. So we want to have this name hard coded and it should always be up to date without the AI, because it will save some tokens. We simply press plus. We use a merge node. Let's just press on this thing right here. Use combined. We use position. Two options, just name and the review. Let's just see. I want to close this down and then we see how this is working. Let's just delete this for 1 small second. What we want to do is to connect this thing right here and also connect this thing right here with this merge node. So let's just make it a bit cleaner. This should be nice right now. Now let's just open this up. So basically the name should come through. This is from input 1. And then from the basic LLM chain, neutral comes through. Let's just test this thing out. So test workflow. Let's just say this time, Maria, I think it was great. Submit. Everything comes through. So we go into the LLM chain. The LLM chain says positive. The name gets passed into the merge node, and the merge node tells us Maria, and it's positive, of course. And what we want to do is to simply save this stuff right now. Let's just say in Google Sheets or in Airtable or wherever you like. What we want to do is right now to press plus. Let's just make this a little bit cleaner once again. This is fine. Plus, let's just use, for example, Google Sheets. We press on Google Sheets, append row in a sheet, You need to connect your Google account, of course. I hope you know how you can do this. You already saw how you can connect your Google account, so I have simply done this. Then the resources, sheet within a document, this is completely fine. Operation, append row, and then we need to have a document and we can choose it from the list, and then we also need to have the list. I just want to go into Google Sheets. This is a test. Let's just give this a better name. So this is a test. It's completely fine for us. We just want to use this thing right here. We come back, we press from list, we use this as a test, then from list 1. So it's basically this thing here. Map each column manually. Let's just do this a little bit different. We go into Sheets and we give here names. Let's just say the same thing as comes through here. So name, and we also want to have the review. This is this text here from the merge node. Let's just call it review. This should be fine right now. We come back, we press on these, we press on refresh. Now we have name and review, the stuff that we have typed in here. And here on name, of course, we throw in the name. And on review, we throw in from the merge node the review that is here in text form. So now we press test step. And basically we should simply throw right now Maria positive in our Google Sheets. Maria positive. And let's just test the whole workflow here. We just save it from time to time. We give it a name. Let's just say sentiment check. Now we press test workflow. We say that this time Peter, and Peter loves to write. Peter wants a big field. Peter tells us something like this. I recently had the pleasure of staying at hotel name, I don't need this. This is just a review that I have made with ChatGPT. So basically, Peter likes to tell us a lot of stories and we just want to know if he likes it or not. So what we do right now is to press submit, of course, and then everything will come through. Let's just see, boom, there we have it. Everything got through. And if I go into Google Sheets, Peter tells us it's positive. This is exactly what happened. If you press on these, you can see what we did. This is the prompt or the review that Peter gives us. So the name is Peter, and Peter tells us with a lot of words that he likes it in our room. Then if we press the next thing, it goes into a LLM chain. The LLM chain makes this sentiment analysis because we gave him this system prompt, and we also threw the text in as the prompt, and we simply extracted if it's positive or not. If we go out here, you see that we also have this merge node. You can eventually also skip this merge node and simply tell the basic LLM chain that he should also extract, for example, the name and the review and output it as JSON, but I think it's better to hard code these with a merge node. So we simply merge these two things together so that we get the name Peter and also the review. And we simply give here two outputs, and these two outputs go into this Google Sheets. And here we can simply connect this Google Sheets with our normal API keys and so on. You know how to do it. You do it with the Google Cloud Console, or you can also work in the web application. By the way, right now I'm working in the web. Then we can simply throw in our Google Sheet. We use the table. We map each column manually. We can simply update it as soon as we give our names here. And then we can simply throw in the name and the review from the merge node, and then we are ready to rock. Congratulations, you absolutely know how you can make a sentiment analysis with an LLM, and this is a workflow that is really practical. This is a workflow that can save you also some time. And let's just say you don't like to have this with Google Sheets. You can simply go here on with Google Sheets. You simply delete this. Let's just say you do not like to have this. You can also go on and delete this if you want. Also that. Let's just make it really easy. You also tell the name. We throw the name in here. We also give this name here. Test step. Positive Peter. Now we get 2 words. And now we want to send this with a mail. So we press plus. Gmail. Send a message. Gmail account is connected. Message. Sent. Now we throw in an email address. The subject is of course the text from the basic LLM chain. It's in HTML, this is just a test. excuse me, we need to have the message. The message is of course this right here, and the subject, let's just say review, excuse me. Now we press the step. It is sent, and now we have the mail, so the review, positive from Peter. And you can also extract this right here, of course, by clicking Add Options, append at n8n attribution, and we close this down. So this is basically the easier automation. If you want to have it with Gmail, for example, just with this LLM chain, you can totally do it just like normal. Let's just test once again. So test workflow. Let's just say Maya, I love it, submit. It gets sent out. Review comes through from Maya and it's positive. And now let's just reconnect it with Google Sheets. We delete this. We go on the basic LLM chain. So you should know how this works. So now we simply delete this once again. You can simply do this however you want. With one word, we delete this right here. We want to have once again the merge node. We connect this right here and this down here. We test once again. And this time, Jana, I hate it. Submit. It comes through. And in the Google Sheets, once again, Jana, negative. So I hope you see how all of this is working. It's really easier than you think. You can work with all of this stuff and just make it however you want. You have really endless possibilities. Right now you know 2 possibilities to make sentiment analysis with LLMs that are really practical, because this stuff saves you time. You build it out once and you can analyze sentiments all day long. Have fun with these. And of course you also can reconnect Ollama, Deepseek or whatever you like. See you in the next video. In this video I want to show you how we can connect every single open source LLM with n8n. This is really cool because we have some advantages if we use open source LLMs. Some people don't like the models from OpenAI, some people don't like the models from Google, from Anthropic or from all these API providers. They want to run something locally. This has some advantages and also some disadvantages. I just want to tell you really quickly what these advantages and disadvantages are. So the advantages of open source LLMs are of course data security. They run private on your own server, on your own hardware. This means that nothing gets sent out to OpenAI, to Google, to Anthropic, to Deepseek, to whatever API provider. This thing will stay on your local machine so your data is protected. Also, free of charge. You can use them for free forever, how often you want. The next thing is, you can also download uncensored models. It's totally possible. You can search for dolphin models, for example. So dolphin models, these things are normally uncensored, so you can ask whatever you want. Some people tell you that the OpenAI models have a political direction in the left side. Other people tell you that this is not true. I don't really want to go that deep into this conversation, but you have the possibilities to download open source models that are completely unbiased if you want. But what are the disadvantages on the other side? Eventually lower performance than the best API providers. If you have high performance, for example a Deepseek R1 model, they need of course strong hardware. So strong hardware is required for the big models. If you use Deepseek, you don't have function calling, so you are simply not always state-of-the-art with these open source models, or if you want to be state-of-the-art, you need to have a really powerful machine. But don't worry, after this video you know how you can run these models, you know how you can find these models, you know what model you can run on your machine and how you can run it in n8n. The first thing that you do is you Google Ollama and then you press on Ollama. And as soon as you are on this web page, you simply press download. You just have to press download one single time and this thing will get automatically downloaded on your local machine. Nothing will pop up. This will simply work in the background. If you press down here, you see that Ollama is running on my machine. So simply press download and Ollama will do its thing. And it works for Mac, for Linux and also for Windows. So simply press download. As soon as this is downloaded, you see it here, you can run different models. You can run Llama 3.3, Deepseek R1, Pi 4, Mistral, Llama, you can run everything. You simply press on models and then you can see what models are trending. So Deepseek R1 is right now, of course, a hot model. Everybody loves to use Deepseek. You can also try to use Llama 3.3 if you have strong hardware. You can use Pi 4, Llama 3.2, Llama 3.1. You have a lot of different tools. But you see, you have a lot of different tools even if you just use one model. I want to make this example with Deepseek because everybody loves Deepseeks nowadays. You see 18.9 million pulls in just 13 days. This is completely nuts. Llama has 1.3 million pulls in 2 months. Let's just press on Deepseek. And now I want to show you what model you should choose. Generally speaking, the higher the parameters, the stronger the model. The smallest model has 1.5 billion parameters. The next model has 7 billion parameters. 8 billion, 14 billion, 32, 70B, and 671 billion parameters. The higher the parameters, the more, let's just call it, point of views that the model can look on these problems. And if you press on these, you see how big these models are. A 7B model is 4.7 gigabyte. And as a rule of thumb, let's just write this down. VRAM equals gigabyte of model size, at least. Maybe it also should be a little bit bigger. So basically, if you want to download a 7B model, you should have at least like 5 gigabyte of VRAM. If you have 5 gigabyte of VRAM or most likely 6 gigabyte of VRAM, you could run, for example, this model, the 8B model. Maybe, but just maybe, you can also try to run the 14B model, but then it will get like really ugly. Maybe it's a little bit slow. You need to play with this a little bit. This is not set in stone. But as a rule of thumb, use a model that is roughly the size of your VRAM or a little bit smaller. If you want to play it safe, start with the smallest model. If it runs, go a bit bigger, a bit bigger, a bit bigger, until it runs slow, and then you go one step back. Now something else, you can also press on View All. And here you see that you have even more models. So you see some things are here, Quen Distill FP16, then Q4 and so on, and really small models with just 1.1 gigabyte. Now what all of this means. If you see, for example, FP16, this means float point 16. This is generally speaking the biggest model. If you see these Q models, you have Q4, Q8 and so on. These are a little bit distilled. So basically, FP16 is the full model. Then you have Q8. This is basically the same model, but a little bit distilled, a little bit smaller. You see it also here. The 1.5B in FP16 has 3.6 gigabyte. The Q8 has 1.9 gigabyte and the Q4 has 1.1 gigabyte. They get quantized. This basically means the same thing as a resolution if you watch a video. If you watch a video in Full HD, it's basically a video. And if you watch it in 720p, it's also basically the same video, but a little bit weaker. So keep this in mind. I would suggest with this Deepseek models a Q8 version. And if you simply go back here to this Deepseek and simply use this right here, these are all Q8 models, by the way. If you press on View All and if you scroll down to the biggest model of them all, let's just see this right here. The 671B in FP16, this is like gigantic, 1.3 terabyte. So please just don't try to run this model like you will not have enough memory for these models. Of course, there's a lot more to these open source models. This was basically just a crash course. And now I want to show you how you can run these models, because you are here to run these models. You have downloaded the Ollama. Everything that you do right now is you open up the terminal. Boom, there we have the terminal. Then you search the model that you want. I use for this example Deepseek R1, the 7B model. Then we copy this line, so Ollama run Deepseek R1 7B. We throw it in our terminal and then Ollama will simply do its thing and run this model. As soon as you do this the first time, the model needs to get downloaded. This will take a little bit. If you have already downloaded this model, it will be like somehow fast. I have already downloaded this model, so you see Deepseek is right now here. and I simply tell, hey Deepseek, how is it going? And this thing will talk back to me. It thinks. So this is a thinking model with test time compute. You already know what this is. And Deepseek simply tells me what it's thinking. And because this has test time compute, you can also ask like logical questions, and also code is great. By the way, you can also close this down. If you open this back up later, once again terminal, and if you simply throw this in once again and send it out, this thing will be here for you all the time. If you clear your screen and type in Ollama serve, you can also make a local server, and this local server listen to this URL. You can also test this. If you copy these, throw it right here in, you see Ollama is running. So basically you have also a local server where this thing is running. And we can connect this with n8n, and now I want to show you how. We simply go into n8n, we press create workflow, and we simply do something really easy. We just want to throw in Deepseek here. We call this workflow, let's just call it Ollama test, for example. This will be a really simple workflow, so you can do whatever you want. You can also make this bigger, and feel free to play with this a little bit, but just remember that it does not have function calling. So Deepseek has no function calling. What I want to do is to press plus right now. We simply use, let's just say, the AI agent. This is just for the sake of this tutorial. Now this is connected, and now you know that we need to have a chat model in order to talk with this thing. So we simply press plus, and here we need to use the Ollama chat model. And if we press on this Ollama chat model, you see that this thing is automatically connected. And if you press on it here, of course you need to give new credentials. Here is a small little bug, and I see all the time failures here. So basically this will not work at the first time as you do this. You need to make most likely new credentials, and with these new credentials you have to make this a little bit better. Here we have some bugs from time to time, and you need to fix this. If you connect this the first time and you simply press save, yes, it will not work. So you see this thing is red, and red is never good. And now I want to show you why this is not working. I think this is a bug. If you see right here, HTTP, localhost and so on, 11434. And if we go here in our terminal, let's just open this terminal up. You see basically that this thing down here is right, 11434. So we basically just have to fix these things here, and then it works. Now basically everything that we do is the following. We go in here and we copy these. So 127.0.0.1. We copy these numbers. Then we come back here. We delete this local host, and then we throw this thing in here. Now we press save, and then it should be green, and boom, there we have it. So basically now we are connected with our local Ollama server. And as soon as you are connected, you can press on these models. Let's just see where these models are. Now they are again back, and you can press on these, and here you can see what models you have. I have, for example, installed Llama 3.2, 3.1, the Llama 3 latest, Deepseek R1 latest, and Deepseek R1 7B. And if you press on one of these models, you are connected instantly. And boom. And if you press save, you can also chat with this thing. So if you press chat, you can chat with Deepseek. Let's just say, hey. And this thing should right now talk back. This should be Deepseek. And in order to test if this is Deepseek, we can simply throw in a hard math question and see if this thing can answer. This thing should be a hard math question. So question 1 and so on. Let's just copy these and see what's the right answer. The right answer is, of course, D. We come back into n8n, we throw this in, we send this out, and then we see if Deepseek can answer this from our local machine. And there you see it. So think, okay, I have this blah 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 and so on. We get a gigantic answer, and the final answer is D. So this is basically correct. Congratulations, Deepseek, like good job. And you know, of course, you can connect this model however you want. If we go back to our workflow, let's just save this. Let's just say we come back to the sentiment analysis with this basic LLM chain. Of course, you could also, for example, delete this thing here and use another model. So if you would delete this, press plus, use Ollama. You can also use Ollama for this. Let's just simply press test workflow, Arnie, I like it, submit, LLM chain works. And everything worked right here. And of course you could also use another model, like a thinking model would most likely not be the right model for this. This is for a simple sentiment analysis. Please use, for example, Llama 3.2. It's also the possibility that Deepseek messes this up because of the thinking steps. So use the right model for you. For the sentiment analysis, most likely a Llama model would be better, but you can connect every single model in this way. The only downside is, of course, that not every single open source model has function calling, but right now we do not use function calling. With the simple nodes that we have made until now, all of these open source models will most likely work. So in this manner, you know how you can connect Ollama. It's basically really easy. You download Ollama, you find the right model for you, your VRAM should be bigger than the gigabyte of the model, you can install it, you can install thinking models just like Deepseek if you do code or math questions. If you use other problems, like most likely a Llama model would be better, maybe also Mistral. For the sentiment analysis, a Llama 3.2 or 3.3 would be perfect, for example. And the advantages are that they are completely for free, forever, and they are also private. See you in the next one. And because in the next one I want to show you how you can connect every single API that you want. You do not have to use only OpenAI. You can use every single API provider that you want. In this video I want to show you how we can connect every API from an LLM provider that you want. Before we do that, I want to show you why this could be an option, why you should be considering to use different models from time to time. Now, generally speaking, I am a big fan of the OpenAI API. They have really good models. They are affordable and they simply work. Especially as soon as we do function calling in later videos, I think at least right now, OpenAI offers the best models. They are the smartest with this function calling. But if you do not want to do function calling, you can use faster models, you can use cheaper models, you can play with all of this a little bit. And after the video, you will know how you can connect every single API, and you also know what API you should use when and how much they cost. Let's just start with Deepseek and with the pricing. The pricing of Deepseek is really cheap. Basically, we have the standard Deepseek chat model, and this is enormously cheap, with 27 cents in 1 million token as input price in the KHMIS, and 1 million token as output price is $1.10. And if you use the Deepseek Reasoner, you pay 55 for the input and $2.19 for the output. You already know the differences between a normal model and a reasoning model, so I don't want to dive that deep into this thing here. But generally speaking, you can use the Deepseek API. Later I will show you how. And of course you can also use Ollama. You already know how to use Ollama. But if you want to use the biggest model and if you want to have it fast, the API is an option. If we compare this with the pricing of the OpenAI API, we have, for example, the OpenAI O1, and this costs $15 in the input and $60 in the output. Of course, this is really expensive. But if on the other hand we use O3 Mini, O3 Mini is a lot cheaper, with just 55 cents in the caged input and $1.10 with the normal input, and the output costs $4.40. I do like O3 Mini over Deepseek a little bit more, because O3 Mini has function calling and Deepseek has not. So it depends a bit on the application that you want to make. But generally speaking, you can use the Deepseek models. Besides that, we have also the Gemini API. And the Gemini API is also really cheap, and if you start with the Gemini API, you can use this thing for free. So you should absolutely play with this thing a little bit. And later, as soon as you want to use this more, you have, for example, Gemini 2.0 Flash, and this 2.0 Flash model is also really cheap. So you can absolutely use this. And by the way, if you use other OpenAI models, For example, the normal GPT-4 Omni, it's also relatively cheap. And if you use GPT-4o Mini, it's also really cheap. So you will always find cheaper models also from OpenAI. Besides that, we have also Anthropic. I do not really love the Anthropic API. If you scroll down here, you see the pricing. If we use Claude 3.5 Sonnet, it costs $3 in input and $15 in the output. If we use something small like the Haiku, it's relatively cheap. But generally speaking, I do not use the Claude API or the Anthropic API a lot, but for some things it can be also relatively good. But like I said, I use mostly the OpenAI API. Then we have something other really cool. We have Groq. This thing uses an LPU instead of a GPU for inference. And this thing is enormously fast. If we use, for example, a Llama model in, for example, this interface, and I simply type in, hey, this thing answers enormously fast. So tell me a story. You will see that this thing spits out tokens on a speed that is like beyond us. And we can also use the API of these, and this API is really cheap. It's also basically for free. You can test this API for free for a little bit. Now I want to show you how we can do this. We are once again in n8n. We simply press create workflow. What I want to do is right now, I use simply an AI agent node. And with this AI agent node, we simply connect a chat model, and then we will connect all these APIs. We simply press plus on this model, and now you can see what you can connect. You can connect the Anthropic chat model, and everything that you have to do is, of course, to select credentials, so create credentials, and you need an API key. And I want to show you where you can make an API key for Anthropic. You go on console.anthropic.com/dashboard, and you simply press get API keys. And here on this API keys, you simply press create key. The workspace is default, and the name, let's just say my test. Here is that key, and I can simply copy this key and close this down. If you go on your profile, and then on billing, of course, you have to add funds. So you need to have some funds on this account, or it will not work. So this is really important. If you work with Claude, also give here a little bit of balance. Then we come back to Anthropic. We simply throw in this API key, we press save. Then this thing is connected. And now we can simply talk with this thing. You can use the model that you like. I just use 3.5 Sonnet right now. This thing is good. This thing is great. I press on chat. Let's just open this thing. And I say, hey Claude, and I send this out, and right now we will talk with Claude. Hello, how can I assist you today? So basically this is how you can connect Claude, and Claude is also really nice for some things here on these AI agents. More on where to use Claude maybe a little bit later. For right now you know how you can connect this, so if you really love Claude, you can totally use this. Besides Claude, you can also use, for example, the Azure OpenAI model, AWS as the chat model. Then the Deepseek chat model, this is completely new. Before this we had to use the OpenAI chat model and give the Deepseek credentials. But right now it's easy. We can simply press on Deepseek, create new credentials, and give the API key from Deepseek. So we basically simply go on Deepseek, we press on the API platform. We have to give some credentials here, always with your credit card or with PayPal. This is really easy. Then we go on API keys here, create new API key. I just give some numbers, back into n8n, we delete this, press save, and now Deepseek is connected. And here you can see that you can use Deepseek Chat or Deepseek Reasoner. And if you use the Reasoner model, of course, this thing has test time compute. Tell me a difficult math question and solve it. And this thing will now think for a while and then solves it. And there we have it. So let's just make it a bit bigger. Here we have the question and also the answer. So basically this thing has created a problem and then solved it immediately. Now the next thing that we can eventually connect is, of course, new chat model, Google Gemini chat model or Google Vertex chat model. If you simply press on Google Gemini chat model, you can connect these things. You can simply press on these, create new credentials. The host is integrated automatically and you need an API key. And you get the API key from Google AI Studios. You simply press on get API key, create API key. We can use a project here. Let's just use this one. We create this key. we can copy this key, come back into n8n, throw this key in here, press save. We are connected successfully. We can close this down. And now you see what models you can use. Here you find a lot of different models, and I would suggest you that you use, for example, Gemini 2.0 Flash, and if you press on these, you can use this model at least at the start completely for free. So let's just clear this chat. I simply type in hey, and this thing tells me, hey there, how can I help you today? So basically, this is how you can use the Google models. And it does not really matter what node you use here. So let's just delete this. We press plus. Google Vertex chat model. You can also use this. You simply use new credentials. The only difference is here that you need a service account email. But I just use the other model. I do not really like more complexity, so let's just delete this. Basically, these Google models, you should play with them a little bit. Just for function calling, they are not that great. Then let's just use something that is enormously quick. The Groq chat model. You press on it, of course we set new credentials, and everything that we need to do in order to do that, we go on the Groq console, we go into the developer console, and here you find also on the left side settings, billing, and here you see that you can use this thing for free. This is enormously great. You can simply go on API keys, create key, verify that you are human, let's just say test, submit, we copy the key, come back into n8n, throw in the key here, press save. Now you are connected with Groq, and Groq is blazingly fast. It depends on what model you use. Let's just use Gemma 2, 9 billion, and then you can simply chat with this model and this will be blazingly fast. So let's just do something like this. Tell me a story about a fox, and we send this out. And you see, there it is. I have not cutted this video. This is real-time information. There is no cut in this video. This is just blazingly fast. So basically, this was Groq. And once again, plus, we could also include Mistral eventually. I do not like Mistral that much, but you can play with it a little bit. You already know how you can include Ollama as the chat model. And the last thing that you can also include is, of course, Open Router chat model. If you press on these, you can simply go to Open Router, you press on it, and here you have the possibility to use a lot of different open source models. And a lot of them are also available completely for free. But I personally do not love Open Router because, like, the Groq thing is basically the same thing but with faster inference. So if you want to use open source models, you can also use Groq, and with Groq they are a little bit faster. So in this video you have learned how you can connect every single LLM under the sun with an API. You have learned over the last videos how to connect the OpenAI API. You already know how to connect Ollama. These two nodes are the nodes that I personally use the most. OpenAI for most of my agents, because OpenAI is reliable, it's affordable, and it's great, especially later as soon as we make bigger, stronger automations with function calling. My basic staple is most of the time OpenAI. If I want to work locally, of course Ollama is great. But then there are some special cases. In some special cases you want to have a model that is extremely fast and cheap. Just use Groq, you can use it for free. In some other things you want to have a middle ground. Maybe you want to play with the Google models. The Google models are reliable and also cheap and really fast, so you can play with them. In other models you want to have, for example, really strong coding but without the reasoning. Here is Claude, for example, relatively good. Maybe you want to tell like engaging stories. Also here Claude has a great personality. And Deepseek is for everybody that wants to reason for a really cheap and affordable price. But, like I said, Deepseek has no function calling. This is, at least how I see it, the biggest downside of Deepseek. So choose the right weapon for you. Like I say it right now, for 99% of the people, basic OpenAI models will do the job most of the time. Relatively easy, relatively reliable, relatively affordable. But this thing can change over time, and you should keep an eye, for example, on performance and on the price of all of these API providers, because like I told you, this thing will change. Also, Groq 3 from Elon Musk rolls out the API in these days where I am recording this course, and if they roll out something really great, of course I will include it in this course. So see you of course in the next one. Now you know how you can connect every single API under the sun. In this section we have learned a lot. We always need to start, of course, with a trigger. In the first automation we started with an Airtable trigger. We simply connected the Airtable trigger with an LLM. And important is that we also connect our right API keys here. As soon as the API key is connected and our trigger gets executed, we need of course some prompts that make sense for the LLM. We need to have a text input, maybe a system prompt, and then everything should work. And basically after that we can connect our next nodes and our automation is basically ready. So you basically saw how we can send ourselves emails if Airtable gets updates. After that we took a closer look on the sentiment analysis. And also the sentiment analysis starts with a trigger node. Trigger node is an on-form submission. The on-form submission will come into the AI. The AI will make a sentiment analysis and we simply connect this with Google Sheets. And in Google Sheets is simply the name and if the person is happy or not. And if you want to have this via email, of course you can also make this automation. We have a lot of options. You also saw how to use a lot of different nodes and how to connect all of these things together. After that I showed you how you can use open-source LLMs. The most important thing is that you install Ollama, that you find the right model for your purpose that works on your machine, and then you can simply connect it, but attention, you need to give the right URL to the server from Ollama. If you don't change these numbers, this will not work. And then you can use, for example, Deepseek, a reasoner model, if you need really logical answers, or maybe a Llama model or something similar. And lastly, I showed you how you can connect every single API provider as an LLM. Basically, you can connect what you need. In most cases, OpenAI makes the most sense. If you need a fast model that is cheap, GPT-4o Mini is great. If you need a smarter model that has function calling, GPT-4 Omni is great. If you want to have a model that has function calling and that has reasoning, O3 Mini could be great. And if you want to have the biggest model that can reason but don't has function calling, O1 can be your friend. So yes, it seems a little bit confusing, but over time you will learn how to use these models. If you want to write something in a good writing style, also the Claude models could make sense. If you want to have fast models that are also relatively cheap, the Google models could make sense. If you want to have something that is extremely cheap and that's for free, just use Groq for example. And you can basically play around with all of this API provider, eventually also Deepseek. But always a little bit attention, if you send your data to a Chinese model, like this can make some problems. Maybe we should be safer with the models from OpenAI, and if you want to run it 100% private, you need to use Ollama. So basically you have learned a lot in this section, and I want to tell you what learning is. Learning is same circumstances but different behavior. Maybe you did not know how you can include LLMs in your workflows until now. Now you know it, and you have only learned if you do. So please just copy one of my workflows, make your own workflow, or connect a different API and play with these things a little bit around. Only then you have learned. And I also want to tell you what good learners do. Of course, they learn together, because more people always know more than few people. And we can reach this if you would share this course. Maybe the other person gets value out from this course and they will describe the value to you because you have told them. So thank you for that, and I'll see you of course in the next section. The next section, at least in my mind, gets exciting because we start to make RAG chatbots so we can train these LLMs on our own knowledge, and we will make cool email automations. See you in the next one.